KCI Kindled, Creating Space for Meaningful Dialogue, a podcast brought to you by Kahnawake Collective Impact. The goal of this podcast is to open up a safe space for community members to have conversations about current social issues, both intercommunity and global issues, culture and heritage, and language. This space encourages respectful expression of different opinions and perspectives. The opinions and perspectives expressed belong to the guests of the show and do not represent the views of Kahnawake Collective Impact.
Have you ever been gaming or working online classes and your internet service constantly gets interrupted? First Nations Fiber is about to ensure that just won't happen again. Get ready for high speed at a new level. Click on fnfiber.com and sign up today. First Nations Fiber, empowering people through connectivity.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of KCI Kindled, Creating Space for Meaningful Dialogue. I am your host, Karina Peterson, and this episode has a bit of a mix-up of co-hosts. We don't have Denon Phillips in studio with us today, but we do have the ladies from Kahnawake Collective Impact. They all graciously agreed to hop on today, and just some introductions. We have Waganiyosta Montour.
Hello.
We have Daisy Lahash.
Hello.
And we have Carly Loft.
Hey, hey.
So let's start with I don't know. Let's start with what you do. Carly, we'll start with you.
I'm the Youth Engagement Coordinator at Kahnawake Collective Impact.
Daisy?
I'm the Youth Project Coordinator. Youth Project Assistant at Kahnawake Collective
Look
Impact.
out, Lily.
Oh, no. And Waganiyosta?
The Language and Culture Coordinator.
Cool. So our episode today, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. Yeah, it is a brand new year. We're 2023. Can you believe that?
Crazy.
I was just with my crew at my teen CrossFit program last night, and we were talking about some song came on and it was from the 90s. And then one of them was like, "Oh, you mean the 1900s?" I'm like, "Whoa, stop." No. I was like, "Oh no, are we really at that stage where it's the 1900s?"
Ew. I seen something the other day. It was like, well, like now, like the 90s is like as far back as you'd think the 70s when we were younger.
Oh gosh. True.
Because like that 90s show, like there was that 70s show when we were young, and that's how far back we thought of it. And now the 90s show is out.
And like, I was born in the 80s, so to me it is all like, if I think old school, if I think like vintage, I'm thinking of the 70s still, and that's literally like 50 years ago. That's half a century ago. That's insane.
Well, at least we didn't grow up in it. My mom had to grow up in it. Haha.
It seemed like a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it did.
Crazy colors.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of browns, orange.
I just bought a bikini that is like all 70s colors, and I love it. It's like peach and like yellow and blue and purple, like stripes. I was like, this is very 70s. I need to get it.
Is it all like psychedelic too, and like
It's
twirly,
like stripes.
swirly?
I love,
wow.
yeah.
I still love that that's vintage and cool for us, whereas today's kids are like, oh yeah, butterfly clips and low-rise jeans.
Oh no. That was me in high school. Like I was all about those butterfly clips. Yeah. I used to do like the big ballerina bun and like the clips all around. It was awful.
Like the angel t-shirts with the glitter.
No, I never did that. The glitter t-shirts were a little much for me, but
I want one. I just seen the Dump Him one, the Britney Spears one. I want to buy it online.
I did just buy my cousins because we're all like around the same age, and we were obsessed with lip smackers. Does anyone remember what lip smackers are?
Oh yeah.
So we had like all the glitter, yucky flavored, soda flavored lip smacker, all that. But there was one that we were all obsessed with, and it was like the wand, the glossy super gloss. So I bought them all that for Christmas, and they're like, wow. It was pretty crazy.
Like, wow, vintage.
Yeah. Everything old is new again. So how was everyone's New Year's? Like the January 1st, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day thing?
It was good. It was fun. Lots of cooking. Lots of food. Stretchy pants.
Like with family and stuff?
Yeah.
What kind of food do you guys make?
We did something a little different than like traditional Christmas, New Year's food. We had a seafood boil, and it was so good. the house smelled like Old Bay and garlic for days. Yeah, it was so yummy.
Yeah, it's a lot of families do something different for New Year's for dinner, because I think Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's all that turkey and stuffing and I'm so sick of it. My family's sick of it at that point, so we usually do lasagna for New Year's or a pasta or something like that just to change it up.
My family does like the finger foods for New Year's Eve. They're just like an array of jalapeno poppers and like, yeah.
Big
Super Bowl
buffet.
food?
Yeah, Super Bowl food, but for New Year's.
I love that. That's cool. This year we did tamales. Moose tamales.
Ooh.
Oh my God. It came out so good.
Moose tamales.
I like I'd put it in the slow cooker, like a moose roast with like garlic and onions and some bay leaves. And it cooked for 12 hours. And with moose, you got to cook it even slower than like beef. Like you got to be like, I don't know. I find that when you cook moose, it like gets too gamey if you try and cook it too fast. Like, you're trying to cook right after dinner. You're just trying to make like a 20-minute meal. I find it gets too gamey. So I cooked it super slow. And the best part about that is like when it came out, it had the bone and I got to eat the marrow on toast.
Ooh.
It's so good. It's so fattening though. But it's so good for you.
It is. It's
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah.
Definitely good for you.
That was like the most exciting part for me.
I tried that only once and it was so good. And I put it on like my mashed potatoes and my steak, the bone marrow. It was delicious.
It's so good.
Especially with the garlic I boiled with it. The fat turned out like garlicky tasting. I was like, oh yeah.
Sounds perfect. I can see that none of us did traditional turkey stuffing for New Year's.
No, not this year.
Yeah, it's boring. If I want to eat turkey, I just like want to pass out immediately.
There's actually something in it. There's like a science to it. There's something inside the turkey that like triggers a certain hormone that puts you to sleep. So that's why like all your bubbas and your uncles are sitting on the couch like chin in their chest, like passing out after.
I am that uncle.
I am that uncle too.
They're putting melatonin in the turkey.
There's something in it.
Yeah, I read that before. And like now I'm like, I never want to eat turkey. I never liked it anyways. Well, it's like, I don't know. It's okay. Like
I'm like that with ham. I don't like ham. And I know everyone's jaws are going to drop and be like, you don't like ham? But no,
I don't.
It's not my thing.
Not a fan.
To each their own.
I'm not a fan of any like that traditional food. Like they say traditional food for events or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I guess we
Just
have to
meat
kind
pie.
of specify what the Ganawage traditional meal is, because we have listeners out there that don't know what we're talking about.
I love meat pie any day.
Yeah.
Chicken and dumplings any day.
Oh yeah.
Carrots and turnips every day. Cranberry sauce on everything.
Did you ever try like the non-Ganawage meat pie, the tourtière that it comes from? Did anyone ever try that?
I have. It was really salty, the one I had.
Yeah.
I
It's
found that
different.
too.
It's really different.
Yeah, I found it was salty too, but I liked it. And everyone's like, I don't like it because it's salty, but I like really salty stuff. So I was like, this is for me.
I don't really have an opinion on tourtière. I don't know if I like it or not like it. I don't know. It's just really different. It's definitely not our Ganawage meat pie.
Buttery, flaky crust. It's different.
So, on New Year's, I got to hold a brand new baby.
Ooh.
Yeah, actually, Daisy, it's your cousin too, Gutsy.
Oh,
Yeah, I got to hold their brand new little baby boy that was born just like a few days after Christmas, and it was so cute. It was like the best way to bring in a new year. You're surrounded by like your family, your people, and competing trays of lasagna. You had to have a slice of both and like actually tell them like whose was better.
Oh man.
It was rough. It was
Taken
rough.
seriously.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the spot.
Yeah. They're like, all right, which one? Like, it was pretty crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
Holding the baby.
I'm
Can't
holding a
try it,
baby.
sorry.
I'm holding a baby. It was so nice though to bring in like a brand new life like that too, surrounded by family and loud, messy kids running around everywhere. It was great. So I want to talk about like New Year's resolutions. A lot of people make them because I guess because the calendar is moving from 2022 into 2023, it's almost like a fresh page or a fresh start for some people. It's a good motivator for people to start making a change. So let's start with that. Do you guys have any New Year's? Do you do New Year's resolutions? Like, what are some that you've heard other people are making?
I always want to. because I feel almost like a pressure too when it comes time for New Year's. But I was thinking back to a thing that a friend of mine was saying to me that, she finds it's kind of weird that Western world decides that the time to start new things is in the dead of winter. It's like everything's hibernating, everything's sleeping, everything's getting, chunky and warm. Not the time to start new things. But yeah, I think I understand how a new calendar year can feel motivating. And I think that way sometimes. But I'm also finding this winter in particular to be a bit more cozy and harder for me to start new things. So it's actually one of the first New Year's where I intentionally didn't set resolutions. I just kind of was like, I'm going to let myself ease into the new year instead and focus more on letting go of old habits rather than trying to start new ones right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So still using it as a bit of a motivator, but shifting the way I approach that, if it makes sense.
I never thought of it like that like New Year's, well, for us, it's winter. In other parts of the world, it's not winter. But for us, we're like in the dead of winter and it's freezing and it's not comfortable. So like, why would we want to start a change like while we're in this discomfort? But at the same time, I see it as like a way to keep us going because, some people fall into like seasonal depression. We've talked about seasonal depression on our podcast before. And I guess like if we really were just to some people, not everyone, like let people just, live in their cozy little hibernation bubble, some people might crash from that. So I wonder if the New Year's resolution thing is just another way to get people to be like, okay, I've been hiding in my house for this long. Maybe it's time to like start something. So this way I don't just fade away in my nice warm house or something like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
In the cold.
Yeah.
In the cold year.
Yeah, it's a weird time though for real. Like if you're like, I'm going to start walking more and then it's minus 30 outside, you're like, no.
Well, I like your point though about like maybe that was intentional. Like they recognize that it's super cold, so we got to give people motivation. And actually it makes me think of the new the Desjardins, the calendars.
Oh yeah.
because
they're so beautiful.
Because they're beautiful, but I was also looking at the translations for the months and I was kind of giggling because there was one where it's sorry, that was me snapping. I do it when I think October was rough times are coming. Yeah. And then November is like rough times are here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's freezing, more freezing. And then I thought it was funny that February translated to the days are getting longer. Whereas when I was thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know. February is also the month that seems to be the most cold. So maybe that was also part of the thought. It's like, it's getting longer. Let's focus on that.
That's
instead.
True. Yeah, it's kind of taking our minds away from like the middle, the winter. There's a line from a movie that I used to watch, and it's Ethan Hawke and Winona Ryder. It's called Reality Bites, and he picks up the phone, and they're like in the middle of an argument, right? And he's like, hello, you've reached the winter of my discontent. And that stuck with me. So it's almost like that. Like winter to me, it's some people love it. Dagari Wayahne really loves it. But like there's some people that thrive in the winter and some people that just, it's harder. So I really love that, flipping the thought.
It also goes like hand in hand with our stirring of the ashes at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Like renewing our central fires in our family and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too, actually, like, because in Ganyageha, in our ways, in Ngwehue Ganyageha ways, our New Year is something a little bit different. It's our midwinter ceremony, but it's I don't think it's called New Year.
Satdego Serhu.
Yeah, Satdego Serhu, but it's representative of that turning over, and like I don't know what it means to. I know there's like a bit of a different meaning for everyone who participates in it, but from what I understand, it's you're kind of acknowledging what happened in the past season cycle that just happened, and you're appreciating and grateful for everything that did happen, and you're letting go of the stuff that is no longer serving you. So you're letting stuff go, and you are grateful to enter like this new cycle with a fresh start. So that's my understanding of it.
I think that's kind of like the most realistic way I could put my New Year's resolution to, because I don't make like any big resolutions or crazy goals at this time of year. It's just kind of like reflecting on the year that just passed, acknowledging where I'm at in my life, whether it's like, I don't know, mentally, like work-wise, physically, like just where I'm at, acknowledging where I am, and then just thinking about, like what no longer serves me, what may be holding me down and preventing me from being a better version of myself. And at the same time, it's good to also go stay your ashes. But this year, I didn't. And maybe I'll be feeling it later. But I don't know. I'm kind of sad I missed out on it this year because it's something that I really enjoyed doing for myself.
I don't mean to make you jealous, but it felt so good. Oh my God. It's like been 3 years since I got to start ashes with like a whole group of people. Oh my God. Good. Because the last one before COVID happened, it was like a very profound one for me. So like, I don't know. I know I missed it throughout COVID. And then like I do ceremony by myself or with my mother. And that's good. But at the same time, you want to like dance with everybody. You want to see everybody. And I was just like, couldn't stop cheesing it all day. Like me and Carly were there and oh my God, all the babies. Yeah, they were acting so silly.
And shout out to some of those babies who were taking their role real serious.
Oh my God.
We were like, wow, you're doing great.
Yeah, that little boy. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know who his parents were. I wanted to know, but he was so cute. Like he was like on it. He was so happy. He was like so energetic. And every time somebody like passed their paddle on, he was like, "Hey, give it back, give it back." And, like they're trying to walk away with it. And he was like, "No, that's my job. I got one job. Give it to me." He was so cute. And it was just so nice to see everybody there. Like see everybody enjoying themselves, really.
Yeah. And there's something beautiful too about, a bunch of people coming together to recognize that like this is a time to let go of those old things and look forward to something new. And you can do that yourself, but it does feel different when you get to see everyone else there too.
Yeah, because everybody's there to support those ideas. And then also like intentionally, you are doing it together. So you are supporting each other to let go of those things. Like some people get a little bit emotional on those days, especially if they're had a hard year and they want to let go of that. So it's nice, like you're not just alone at your house, like doing it by yourself. And if you end up crying, or if you need to like talk with somebody about the dreams that you've been having within the weeks, like leading up to ceremony, it's nice to like sit there and have people to rely on instead of just doing it by yourself. So that's like the biggest thing for me for Sataka Sertu, because like I have this I'm a bear clan, so I isolate myself when I'm upset. So I do rely on like having to express myself like through talk. That's why talk therapy works good with me, and like just talking to my mom or my best friends like about what's going on. But like the same thing of just like having to let it out generally is good for me. And if other people need that too, it's good. Or other people feel different ways. So it's nice to be supported in an environment.
I've never actually been to midwinter. Like I've never been.
Me.
It's something that I've always wanted to do, but I didn't grow up in a family that was traditional. So the first time I stepped foot in a longhouse, I think I was like 15 or 16. And it was with like a youth group I was a part of. So like I really didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't grow up in that. But I learned about it. As an adult, I wanted to learn. I wanted to know. So I haven't been yet, but I've done like little mini ones on my own. When I was working with youth at one of the programs here, we did our own little mini stirring of the ashes. But what we made them do is we made them think a little bit. We had a discussion about what midwinter is, because some of them were like me. They're not growing up in the longhouse, so some of them don't know. And we had a discussion, and we had them all write of one thing, like negative or whatever, that they wanted to let go. I keep hitting the microphone. I'm so sorry.
Passionate.
That's what they did. They wrote down one thing that they wanted to let go of. And then I took a pot and we went outside and we threw them in the fire and they let it go. And even just that experience for them was pretty emotional. So like doing that as a group of people, knowing that this is what we're all doing together, I could see how that makes you feel just so supportive and surrounded by like love. And I could see that. It must feel wonderful.
It's a powerful thing to do that as a group. I had this little healing retreat in Aguasasne a few years ago. And there was like this workbook put together by one of the ladies that was putting this retreat on. And the whole workbook was like a grief and trauma book. And then at the end of it, on our third day when we were going home, she had us write like this letter for ourselves, but, you know, we could talk to like our higher power, our creator, you know, whoever, and just ask him to like, whatever we don't want with us anymore, like take this away, like the pain away. Or if we're thinking about our family, like pray for our family, send good thoughts and wishes to our family. And if someone in our family is sick or struggling with something, like help them like deal with whatever they're facing and help them get through it. And we went outside and burned all of those letters in a fire, and we had some tobacco that we folded in the paper. And it was like a whole ceremony that we did for ourselves as a group. And it was like so beautiful, so powerful. Even after I burnt the letter, I was still kind of like, oh, I feel like it didn't work. But it's all on how you look at it. I don't know. It felt good at the end. And yeah, it made me happy to do that as a group, because I never would have done that by myself. Like write a letter of something that like a negative type of letter, you know, of what doesn't serve me or what isn't doing good in my life. And then to go out and burn it, asking for it to be like taken care of, you know, but I was taught that and you know, I liked it, enjoyed it.
I like what you said about perspective, like how it's all about how you look at it. So like New Year's, I guess in the Western European sense, it's I want to lose 20 pounds by I want that bikini body, or you know, it's like things like I want to become a morning person, or you know, it's goals, it's goal setting, and that's cool. It's good to set some goals, but with the way that I guess in our culture, in our community, is that we're reframing it as we're letting it go and we're moving forward as opposed to like, let's start something brand new, maybe something unattainable. Nobody could lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks. Like, you know,
I feel like we're more like, how can we become more healthier instead of like, I'm going to do this one thing.
Yeah. And there's also a recognition that there could have been heavy things that already happened in the year that you need to work on letting go first, rather than, you know, the Western kind of goal setting. When you hear about people making their New Year's resolution, there isn't also the same amount of attention put on, well, have you reflected on like what happened this past year and what's serving you and what isn't? I mean, I know people who do that around January 1st, but I don't think it's like the main message.
Yeah, I think it's more like, because New Year's can be emotional for a lot of people, you know, if you're not spending it with family, the holidays in general can just be a hard time for people who don't have like that base group of people. So if you're like one of those people who have a hard time, you're thinking like, maybe you're thinking about how crappy the year has been and how you just want things to get better, but you're not actually reflecting on like what happened. And all maybe you're thinking is like, this year sucked, I suck, everything sucks. And it's not a matter of like going back and thinking like, well, what actually happened here? How was I a part of that? How have others affected? Like you're not actually reflecting when you're just
in your emotion and feeling what's not around you at the time.
Yeah. So clearly people are identifying that there's a need to change, but maybe it's more like a superficial change as opposed to like, let's put in some work and to let go of these things instead of just, you know, like hiding them underneath a new gym membership or something.
Yeah. And there's like that pressure to jump in and like not just set a goal, but achieve something. You know, like a lot of people frame those goals as I need to lose this much weight in this amount of time, instead of like, you know, I need to just ease into some things and being more gentle with themselves about, you know, this is a goal and I'm working towards it slowly. Instead, it's like, I need to do this because it's the new year and I have to reach this goal.
Yeah, like if we take that example, somebody who's trying to lose 20, 30 pounds before March break or something like that.
The punishment.
Like, yeah, they're scientifically, yes, you could go to a gym, you could burn more calories, you could whatever. But maybe the reflection part is, what is your relationship with food? What are your own like emotional triggers that maybe, you know, cause you to not exercise, or like, you know, like that would be the reflecting part, is working on all that stuff before you're like, all right, I'm trying keto. Sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, or like that's it. I'm spending every single night in the gym. Like if you're not mentally prepared for that, you're not going to get results anyway. So it's like kind of jumping into things before you're actually sitting back and reflecting on it.
Yeah, and thinking about who are your supports, like who can you lean into while trying to achieve these things and reflect on these things. Because that's another thing, and I don't know if other people think this, but I find like the Western idea of New Year's resolutions are really individual too. It's like not really something that you're trying to do as a collective. It's not really something that you're encouraged to do while like leaning into others maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think ours is... It's different. Like you guys just described it, you know, you're doing it all together. So right there's like that notion of connectedness and support and encouragement.
I went a little different this year because every year I do the same thing where like around January, I'm like the same thing every year. I'm going to try and like be more healthy, try and lose weight because I'm always like yo-yoing with my weight like forever. And like this year, I was like, oh, it's not going to work because every like 3 years in a row, probably I'd like around January, I'd pig out during New Year's and whatever. And then like by March, then I'm finally ready. So I was like, I'm going to beat it this year. So around November, I started to like slowly get into like a healthier routine. So that by the time January came around, and I know around January, I'm motivated for some reason, probably like stirring of the ashes and like just like New Year's in general, like that time of year, like everybody's motivated. Like, I don't know. It's contagious to me. So I know in January, that's when I'm going to be motivated. And it worked. I actually do feel like healthier, like a lot healthier, because I started my like changes in November, like in preparation for New Year's, instead of just like relying on January 1st or relying on something else. So it's working out for me. That's the only change that I've done this year that I'm proud of.
That sounds like some reflection though, because you're like, this didn't really work out for me in the past years.
Yeah.
So how can I make it work out for me this year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds more reflective than anything.
Yeah, I love that you were like planning ahead. Like, this is how much I need to get to that point by January.
Yeah.
Forward thinking.
I needed to like motivate myself, like mentally prepare to like be healthy, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard starting when you stop.
And that's an interesting point too. Like the timing, we have all these family traditions and celebrations that are centered around food and centered around being cozy and hanging out and like in your PJs. And then it's like, okay, now January 1st, forget all of that.
Cold turkey it.
So you make a good point.
Yeah.
Supermarché Idia, your one-stop grocery store for your everyday needs, offering regular groceries as well as Afro-Caribbean and international food products. Looking to save money? Then Supermarché Idia is the right place for you. Located at 72 Boulevard Saint-Jean-Baptiste in Chateauguay, behind the A&W. Open 7 days a week. For more information, check out their website at idiasupermarket.com. That's IDIA supermarket.com.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what you said too, that everyone is motivated at this time. It's nice. Whether you're native, non-native, whether you practice ceremony, whether you don't, there is a general feeling of like, let's get started, let's get going. But then what happens in February and March? Like
Decline.
it goes down. So like to me, I'm kind of thinking like, how do we, like, motivation is fleeting.
Keep up the momentum throughout the year.
How do we keep up the momentum when motivation is fleeting? Like, what that means is that it comes and it goes and it comes and it goes and it's not constant. So how do we keep this feeling lasting? Like, how do we keep the momentum going?
For me, I like to just recognize, well, I follow with the weather and like recognizing what's going on out in the world. So like, yeah, I'm going to start with like the death of the year, and that's like the fall. So that's where I started like trying to make changes. So for me, like the death, like preparing for the death of the year at like Sat de Goserhu. I'm just like I was letting go of stuff in the fall. Like it was a hard time throughout the summer and then the fall. So I was like preparing to let things go and being very gentle on myself because, it was a traumatic year, unfortunately. But now we're doing good. So yeah, so it was like you're leading up to the death of something. And then for me, like Sat de Goserhu, like stirring of the ashes represents like it's dead now. Now we're letting it go. Like, and then the new year, the next following weeks, that's a rebirth of the year. So also recognizing that in yourself and in like the weather, we follow the weather. That's how we follow our ceremonies and all that. But now that it's January, like get motivated to do stuff because it's like you're like, I don't know, I'm like planning out for the year, I guess, in a way. And then in springtime, that's when I started to get lazy and starting to like settle into certain ways. That's where I'm like, no, that's the next struggle. What do I do there? So I've got like fall and winter down. Oh no, what do I do now? So I'm here for advice, guys. Just kidding.
Like going back to the calendar with February being the days are getting longer. Like to me, that's a cool little way to kind of trick our brain into like that momentum thing because it's giving us something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. It's almost Groundhog Day. Only a few weeks more till spring.
Oh, I hope so.
It's true. Like in the spring, everybody gets like excited that there's a little bit of sun out. So everybody starts going outside and everybody starts drinking a little bit more and going to terraces. But then there's like so much fun stuff to do in the city in the spring. So
like springtime to me, it's just that is an energy motivator because we do have more sunshine. I even love watching like the puddles melting and like, I don't know, just the way the sun hits it and it glitters. I'm like, yes, like it makes me all happy. Like springtime, minus the smells. Everything smells like dog poop and like just mud everywhere all the time. But it's a happy time for me because winter's hard. Winter's hard.
I think my favorite memories of like springtime being in high school was going to the Sugar Shack on our KSS trips and we'd be able to climb up the mountain and it's like king of the hill, which class can make it to the top of the mountain first and race up and down. It was always so fun.
Oh my God, I can't wait for a Sugar Shack.
See, already we're all like smiling thinking about the spring.
It's uplifting.
Yeah.
I don't think I can think too hard about like, oh, it was a crappy year. Like I've dealt with so much this year. Because when I do that, I tend to just like mope in that type of feeling. But when I'm like, you know what? Like it had to happen. It had to happen. Like you had to do these things. You had to experience these things. These things had to happen this way and not that way. Even if you didn't want that outcome, like it wasn't that time for this or it wasn't that time for that or you had to learn this first or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's how I have to like keep my mindset or else like I'm gonna get so sad so quick.
I know it's really hard.
Like, why is the world against me? But it's like no, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm in the perfect spot where I'm supposed to be in life right now. At least I think. And I try to like remind myself and be like, oh, it's not about like where you want to be. It's about like, every day, one step at a time, you live in your life and getting there slowly.
It's like trusting the timing of things and trusting that your experiences were made to be lessons for you. Because like you have to validate those feelings though. So it's like when you get in those like the Iorì, sad, depressy, stressy moods, I tend to go down there a lot. But then like I can bring myself up the way that you do it because I have to think about them like that. Like this happened because it had to happen. Look at everything I learned from that experience. I wouldn't be the same person I am today without those experiences. So it's like reflection again.
Yeah, and it's a balance too, like coming back to that question about how do you stay motivated? How do you hold on to those feelings of being excited when you're first thinking about the new year? For me, it's a lot about accepting how I'm feeling day to day. Like some days I'm going to feel more motivated. Some days I'm going to feel like I'm closer to my goals. Some days I'm going to feel further. Some days I'm going to have that sad Iorì day where I just want to mope about it. And I try not to judge myself too harshly for whatever I'm feeling. And yeah, like bring myself up. If it's been 2 days of the sad Iorì, maybe that's when I push myself outside. I see some sunlight and try and move it, but kind of expecting and accepting those ebbs and flows.
Yeah. And it's just, not allowing yourself to get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't bring yourself out of that, then like there are people around you that are probably, hopefully willing to help you out.
Those days were hard.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because it's really hard to keep grinding sometimes when you're not feeling fabulous. But it seems like we're all doing a pretty good job at working those things out. And I wonder if it's because of the way that we look at like our new year. Because that's everything, right? We look at things, we accept that they happen, and we let them go. What's next? How do we put one foot forward, you know? And that's like deeply rooted in our ceremony. So like that's interesting that we all kind of feel the same way.
I think my perspective changed on like the new year and life in general. Like when I was able to live on my own for the first time and like not live with, I don't know, like authorities. And I don't know, it would just be different. Like growing up with your, like, I guess, household's routine or like how your household functions like every day of your life and your upbringing. And then like what does, like, I guess creating new meanings for events in your life or like different times of the year. Like, okay, well, what does this look like for me in my life as a young adult? Like, I know what it used to look like and like when I was growing up, and this is like the kind of like routine stuff we would do, but like my life is different now. I'm a young adult now. So what do I do? What like helps me feel good for like bringing in this new year and yeah, like what changes do I want to make or like new things that I want to learn?
Independence.
Mm-hmm.
You're forging your own path.
Yeah. And like it used to be so hard like going to school after holiday break, I found. Like around now time, now season when I was in high school would be like the worst time of year for me. Like seasonal depression was at a all-time high. I couldn't wait for summer. I couldn't wait to be done with school. I couldn't even like really wake up myself for school. I think at this time of year, from grade 9 to like 11, I would maybe go to school like twice a week at this time of year. Like I could barely get myself up and out of bed, and then I'm just like, how come I just like don't like this time of like January, February, March? Like it was like after Christmas and holiday break up until March break where I was just miserable.
It's hard. And like if you think about the school calendar, there are no holidays at all between January and March.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the longest span of time for students and teachers to go without a break.
Just praying for snow days and pet days.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like they're grinding. Everyone is grinding in a school system like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at least here at KSS and like our community in general acknowledges that winter is hard. So that's why we just finished the winter carnival here with the Kahnawake Youth Center. And that's why they organize carnival days in the schools to try to get these kids out. And like just with KSS in particular, the way that they teach is to be more holistic-y with outdoors and bringing in different types of learning as opposed to just like books. And like that, I'm assuming that's what they still do. Like, yeah, they do. Like we have some things coming up with them soon, right? Like, and they just had a big outdoor fun day or something like last week. One of my friends is a teacher there, so he posted that all the kids were outside and teachers were outside and they're all just playing in the snow. So I think that's wonderful. And so I think there's kind of like an innate knowing that people need to do like self-care type of things in this time. But I think maybe we should be doing more, especially for students.
Yeah. And fun fact, we all went outside this time of year when I was still in school. And the white pine, like you pull the pine needles and they all come off in fives, like no matter like what. If you pull them off, it comes off in fives. And he said, like, if you boil, sorry, taught us this. You boil the white pine needles and there's enough vitamin C in there that if you have 1 cup of that a day in the winter, it's enough vitamin C to cure your seasonal depression, because that's like scientifically why we're experiencing that, because we're in the house more, we're not in the sun. The sun is covered mostly, like most of the time. So there is these medicines out there, this tree, white pine tree, that if we use its medicine and ask for it to help us get better, then it will. And I never tested it out, but
That's a fun fact with the 5.
yeah,
I
it's
believe
like
it.
it's cool for our five nations, the white pine tree.
More white pine facts. Somebody was telling me like a while back, like I forgot who it was, but they're saying that if you crush up the white pine on the tree, like if you're feeling depressed, okay, I'll go back a little bit. Like we were able to use white pine as like a therapy. So like people say that like if you were not feeling well in your head, you go to a white pine tree and then just like sit there and reflect. So it's like our medicine is reflection and stuff like that, and like letting go and stuff. But one of the ways that you can like an instant was just grabbing the tree and like crushing up some leaves and just sniffing it, and it like the like like everything got like reactions and stuff in your body.
Like releasing dopamine.
Yeah, that's what it does. Like, I don't know how. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I'm pretty sure you can prove it through science because, like, our ways is just science, anyways. So
Yeah, they're always backing us up.
Yeah, they're catching up.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to go try both of those things.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's got a white pine? Or
They're everywhere. Yes.
Go on a nature walk.
Yes.
That's
I
what
know,
we
and
should
like
do.
the creation story, like the reason why. Well, the way it's explained in the creation story, like doing that, like using trees as like a connection to the earth. Well, they're like super powerful boys. Like I love the trees, I'm just being a hippie, I'm sorry. But like there was at the beginning of the creation story, there's a Yoji Tizu, and she's like, when she's a baby, she's super colicky, and like her uncle was the only one that was able to soothe her. And then at the end of his life, he got put up in a tree for them to always be able to come back to him and rely on him. So I think that's where that teaching comes from, and like relying on the trees and stuff like that. And I do rely on it like that. Like my mom I was like going through it whenever I'm like, not whenever, but a few times I've gone through like a hard time. And my mom's like, just go out and touch a tree. Like not hug it, like a weirdo, but like just touching it and like feeling that energy, because there's energy coming off those trees. There's energy coming off of like a lot of stuff. Like rocks, you can feel the heat coming off of that, like the rock, and you just touch it and it's like you're taking that energy and like also releasing whatever you don't want, So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a hippie.
But there is an actual science with that too now, because if you think about it, trees are literally our direct connection to the earth. We breathe because of the trees. So in and out, and like, yeah, so there's that scientific connection.
I've seen a TikTok.
Also.
I've seen a TikTok where there was like, they're talking about ancient like healing practices or whatever, like therapy methods. And there was this, I forgot the origin, what part of the world it came from, but in one hand, the person would hold like a rod of copper, and the other hand, they would hold a rod of zinc. And the whole thing, like when they're standing on the ground, like, I don't know, it like does this whole neutralizing charge of their whole body. And it like, I don't know all the benefits. It was on a TikTok, but it did something for them. And it was
Cool.
like, yeah, it was like, I don't know, like energy healing or like helping them feel grounded or like, but it was super cool. And yeah, I should go find it.
Let's do that. We'll all do that.
Just try all of the voodoo witchcraft. Just kidding.
All the old tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Starts with the KCI podcast, turns into a KCI YouTube channel.
Oh, we have
KCI
that.
Oh my gosh, true.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to start making new videos. It's just going to be
New
us and
content every
trees.
week.
Oh, man.
We just turn into influencers.
There we go.
We're myth busting all of these these hacks.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool.
That would be super cool.
I think it would be like, what little tips and tricks can help us feel more holistic, healthy?
I like that. I'm gonna like put that and store that in my little brain bank, and we'll think of something with that.
You heard it here first, folks.
Okay, so I think we could wrap up our conversation. Does anyone have any like closing comments they would like to add or say? New Year's, anything we talked about? No.
Osterdaze!
Woo! Osterdaze!
They can eat toes into wasa awesome.
It's no longer the 1900s. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I can't believe it's 2023.
Yeah. Let's wish our community the best year ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Another year around the sun. That's something to be grateful for sure.
And good luck on all of your resolutions, all of your goals, and lean into those people close to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today
Now for
on the
having
show.
me.
Now.
And we'll see you guys next episode. Oh, no.
The views and opinions of the guests expressed in this podcast do not reflect those of Iorì and its employees.